Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. So it seems from the small groups and also what Ani Lodra was bringing forward last night, there's always the question of, yeah, but I'm going to leave retreat. And then I have a life, and that life includes this, 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 and this. And that here, in this case, I really started trying to focus the teaching in that question, for that question, and of that question, kind of starting like in 2020. And if, I'm going to speak to it a little bit this morning, but if it resonates with you, if it's interesting, if you're moved, there's like 4 online courses on the website that we've done, I guess, since 2020, with this in mind. There's meditations, there's focused inquiries, there's videos, I don't know, there's all kinds of things. Session notes, where there's a lot of writing, and I'm the same as Jennifer, where I feel like the writing actually is more expressive of a deeper clarity than the speaking. So there's that. I wanted to start. I didn't have time to do the printer, so here's my laptop. Hopefully notifications are silenced. If not, forgive me. I wanted to start with something, I like kind of reading something almost as an invocation at the beginning of a talk. And this is also from a lot of sacred literature is included in the online courses. This is from Meister Eckhart. Transformed knowledge, which is an unknowing, is the way of transparent knowing. It is the way of unself-consciousness. When you learn this, you can understand everything and return to everything and praise everything. All expressions flow out and return to their source. Transformed knowledge and love draw up and lead and bring the soul back into the first source of the primordial one. The creator of all in heaven and on earth. What is created flows out but remains within. What flows out remains within. So when we return to our first origin, which is our primal purity, we discover our freedom and we are free. Meister Eckhart. The way of love, the way of the way, is unknowing, transformed knowledge. It's a dark illumination. It's not lit up by the narrator, the believer, the thinker, the doer, the me, the separate idea. That world that is derived from narrating, believing, dividing, is one experience. It's a world unto itself. It's a world unto itself. And we live in that world as a me until we don't. The me starts thinning out, right? As we start questioning. This is key. Questioning. We have to question. Without an agenda. You know, it's agendalessness. It's agendaless. Truth and love, the love I'm trying to speak about, which includes emotional love, but is beyond that. It's the love that expresses itself freely, moment to moment to moment. It serves up and fulfills material reality, the reflection. It's without agenda. Narrating, believing, meing has a lot of agenda, even spiritual agenda, right? I will get this from my spiritual practice. Wait and see. Wait and see. You know, this is the whole thing with, and, you know, forgive me if I talk to me later if I push some button that you just go, oh, no. But this is the whole thing with co-creation. That sounds like quite the agenda to me. You know, it's much different than thy will be done. Here I am as an instrument of love's truth. An emptiness that is available to be filled. That's very different than I'm going to do this and say this many mantras and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, because at the end I will get and be and have. Well, it just doesn't work that way. It's not like that. It's a complete deconstruction of all of that. Complete, total, complete just deconstruction of all of that. All the last little tiny, itty bitty, way down deep pieces of the dandelion root, the burdock root. I don't know if any of you have tried to pull burdock. Must be offered at that altar. It will come back for all of that, for all of it. All of the insanity and horror and consequence of a divided vision. It matters, I mean that word specifically, how we see it, how it sees itself eventually. It matters. The world of undivided, ineffable, mysterious love is naturally of its own natural nature moving towards harmony and fulfillment, joy, love. It's not a me-ness or even an I-amness, really. Creating and manufacturing and doing the things for harmony and all of that. It's a total surrender to that which is by nature lovingness. So it can start sounding like, oh, I can't have times of anger and sorrow and this, that, and the other thing because, this world of lovingness, it's not a negating or a denying of the mind world. It's a sitting right down in it as empty presence. Empty. Right down in it. And through the body, experiencing the purity of anger, fury, horror, grief, without a story or a continuation of terror, 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 what if, what was, what will, what can't know. Just the energetic quality in its purity, without those labels, those stories, those categories, those descriptions, those references. Boom. Boom. I will not be moved. And then the transmuting, transformed, unknown wisdom and love of primordial source liberates. Nobody does it. We can't have people doing it. I mean, I get it. I fully understand it because I'm a people. I mean, it's noble in a lot of hearts. I mean, some people are putting it on pretty thick, but it's a surrender of all of that. A letting go. And the referencing, the narrating, the categorizing, the dividing, the believing is very, 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 very habituated. Collectively habituated. It's a fast process, so be gentle. Be gentle with one's conditioning. The only way is through, and if we come on with this, I really wish this wasn't here, or even, more strongly, get out, I'm done with that, I'm done with this, this. It doesn't have the capacity. It's too limited for what I'm trying to speak about. It's too limited. It's not free. It has agenda. It has want. It has division. I was joking in small group yesterday that I have so many Sharonisms in my heart and my head that they definitely come out in Dharma talks, but the one that comes to me a lot and will bring tears and tenderness is, come here, sweetheart. Come here. You know what? A difference. Come here, sweetheart. This or that. And which do we see as the transmutative quality? Which embodies that? We all know that just instinctively. We don't have to think about it. Like all the 5,000 research studies to come up with the fact that it's better to breastfeed your baby. It's like, well, okay. And you don't have to. I'm not saying that that's like, I'm just saying, sometimes we get really stuck on this like reasoning quality. Oh, that's reasonable. That makes sense. No, it's just we sense it. We know it here. That kindness, inclusiveness, tenderness, gentleness, moves mountains. So, okay, the going home, well, going home has one connotation, but going back to whatever, we divide, for a long time we divide my spiritual life and my regular life. We do that. They have different flavors, characters. I come to retreat, then there's this, I do this, they're different somehow within our experience. What I found to be really helpful, really useful, was something that a teacher of mine, Dr. David Hawkins, had said one time at a gathering that I went to in California that Kathleen happened to be at, but I didn't know at the time. Strange how it all comes together. And I've said it a lot, and some of you have heard me, but it struck me and it changed something fundamentally in that experience of a divided spiritual and regular life. He was a very funny man. He loved humor. He used humor for the Dharma almost always. It was brilliant. I loved his lightness of being and his humor. And he was talking about how it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Okay? It's like, well, his example was this. Don't worry, relax. It's a miracle to be in a human body where you have self-reflection and the ability to move attention. It's a miracle. And then it's another miracle to have even heard of enlightenment, let alone to be able to meet with other people who have heard of enlightenment and are, going, wow, what is that? These are miracles. And then he said, you could be a billion other places, anywhere, doing anything. You could be at a jet boat skiing class. Don't worry. And some light went on. Some light went on. And I just did a trust fall after that. I was just there. It penetrated me to the very core. And I just, okay, yes. It's written in. We think that we are somehow evolving because we have a sense of linear time in this experience. When, in truth, everything is unfolding timelessly every moment. It's all here. It's all here. It's all here. I'm a gardener, so it generally always comes through as a gardening metaphor, but when I plant a seed of corn, I know I will get a corn cob. I don't, if all of a sudden I got an onion or some arugula, I'd be going, whoa, I mean, the ear of corn is in the corn seed that I put in the ground. It's not separate or somewhere else. The butterfly is in the caterpillar. The resurrection and ascension are now here as this. It's not somewhere else. We're becoming conscious of it. Do you hear me? We are the light of the world. Don't worry. Enjoy and discover and listen and question. And it's not here in the spiritual life and not here in the regular life and somewhere there, but not over here. And it's just not like that. It's not like that. And if we give that up, then what we see is we don't see the same. We see differently. We see differently. And then in that scene, unfolding continues, and we see differently yet. And then unfolding continues, and, it's birthing itself through, from, and as us continuously, eternally. It doesn't matter the thoughts in the head, the reflection that's happening. Many of us, many of us have been through some steep, tsunami-like reflective reality the last 3 years. I mean, even if it didn't happen in a personal way, the collective was, what? There was a time when 100,000 people a day were leaving the planet through death. I mean, a lot was happening. Being able to sit right down in the truth of one's being, in that capacity, in that abiding presence, presence is the solvent, the transmutative fire and the harmonizing power. It's not in a denial of the divided mind world and all that brings. Division brings division, brings division, brings division, brings division, brings division. But it's a transformed knowledge, it's an understanding that isn't fundamentally, essentially reality. Willingness I guess, what we might call faithfulness, a seed of corn will yield an ear of corn. That kind of faith. Availability, putting oneself in what I would call the Word of God, I guess the Dharma, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. If you want to kayak a certain river, you got to put your kayak in that river. That's the deal. You can't put your kayak in a different river and be kayaking the river you want to be kayaking. It's it doesn't work that way. It's a wholehearted thing. It's wholehearted. And then, the me thins out because the attention is, what are you going to pay attention to? The habituated blah, 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 or this thing that is starting to bloom in consciousness, it grabs you. It takes you. Like Ajahn says, rest and be taken. Rest and be taken. And so then, we don't have to fight with the me anymore because it just, it thins out and moves out of the house. And then, the different phases come of expanded identification, you might say. The circle of one's identification keeps growing. I amness, and then I-ness, and then eventually the I goes home. It goes home. And wholeness is. And then everything is as it is. Talkingness is. Lovingness is. Yellowness is. Shrine roomness is. Qualities of beauty, the nature of love is displayed and sensed and felt and lived as body. When what did Anandamayi say in that transmission? Sometimes we're melting, sometimes we're burning. I loved that. That's definitely describes the experience here as the surrender and love coming back for every piece of its mistaken identity, its mistaken separateness, its mistaken not good enough, shame, fear, all of it. As it comes back, there's periods of great melting away, and there are periods of fire, where all the stuff comes back to roost for a little bit and be seen, loved, welcomed, and just purely experienced without a agenda to get rid of or an agenda to be somewhere else doing something else, anything else. It's a capacity that the dividing mind, the reasonable self, does not have. I suggest an instrument that is more qualified for the job. Give it to the heart for that fire, or give it to the ground for that melting. But if we're continuously categorizing it as, even spiritual, even whatever the categorizing, however we're dividing it out, and seeing it as what it can do for us or what it absolutely can't do for us, we just have to see it as treasure. Precious treasure. Even if it sucks, because the only way is through, and eventually we begin to see that whatever is appearing is of our own it's not really desire, our own path, our own path of fulfillment, like the corn seed becoming the corn cob. It's there as that next precious fulfillment of, as Sharon says, what you've always wanted, sweetheart. I can't help it, Sharon. You're in here. I'm sure you've had a dokusan where you're like, it's what you always wanted, sweetheart. It's true. That becomes the truth. But see, if we dive feet first, head first, whatever, heart first, into the shame, or into the fury, or into the grief, or into the unlovability, with anything other than emptiness. If we got a story, it doesn't have the space to land and work its, to see itself, be itself, bring itself home. Bring itself home. Because, it's like, okay, well, it's a very giving way. See it that way, if you need to see it that way. If you need to see it personal, it's not like reality goes, no, you don't get to. Okay. I get this sense, maybe you have it too, that she's just waiting for us to dream the beautiful dream. She's just waiting to give it and bring it home. There has to be a pathway, There has to be an instrument, a vessel of it. So we can take heart, even in those moments of, mean, there's a lot of phases, you guys. There's a lot of moments. There's a lot of rewiring. There's a lot of surrendering. There's, 40 days and 40 nights. But we are home. We are love. We are waking up to the vision of truth and love as it is. And I'm just incredibly grateful beyond any ability to express to be here with all of you in that. It's a real humble honor. Thank you.